Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Congressman Mark Pocan on the line with us, taking your calls. You're still here, Congressman?
I'm here.
Okay. Patricia in Portage, Wisconsin. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Okay, you guys. I'm a woman, so indulge me a little. Congressman Pocan, I write for the Capital Times newspaper on wildlife issues, and I bet you've never realized that our state and federal agencies that manage wildlife are almost exclusively funded on killing licenses. That makes them killing businesses. So I just wrote a column that 2/3 of wildlife and all life, amphibians, insects, you name it, has been destroyed on this planet in 50 years. 2/3 gone. 1/3 left. The Vatican just met on this issue, and we need it on the Progressive Caucus, and we need it determining whether we accept resolutions like 89 and 16 that are coming out of the environmental committees to kill bears and cubs and wolves in their dens with their pups and open more wildlife refuges and destroy the last third. I mean, we really need this on the progressive or democratic platform, and we need our legislators to lead on this instead of allowing. They've doubled trapping in Wisconsin. They're raping out our woods to the Toronto market. We are in real trouble with disease replacing wildlife.
No, Patricia, you've been a very articulate spokesperson on these issues, and I appreciate the work you're doing, from the issues of delisting gray wolves to bear hunting to one that just yesterday I think we're going to be taking a leadership position on, which is the slaughter of horses in this country to sell the meat overseas. There are many issues that we need to deal to make sure that we're taking care of this animal cruelty, and I so appreciate the work you're doing back home on this.
Mary in Redondo Beach, California. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Thank you. Hi, this is Mary Roderick calling. I have an issue here that would come up with the representative in general, and that is whether or not it's illegal to lie to Congress when you're under oath or not under oath. And I found a source, and I wanted to call that in. And I'm pretty sure you already know it, but I just wanted to make sure. It concerns, the title is What Happens If You Lie to Congress. And, of course, if you're under oath, you refer to Section 18, 1621 and 1001 of Title 18, not Section 18, Title 18 of the U.S. Code. 1621, we already know if you're under oath, that's against the law. But here, Section 1001 covers false statements more generally without requiring an oath. And the section stipulates that, and this is a direct quote, whoever in any matter within the jurisdiction of the executive, legislative, or judicial branch of the government of the United States knowingly and willfully, unquote, falsifies or conceals information, including before a congressional committee's inquiry, may also be fined or imprisoned up to 5 years. And the same basically goes.
Mary, I'm sorry, I need to get more people in here, but is your question specifically about Tom Price and Scott Pruitt lying to Congress? Is that the essence of it?
You can throw a dartboard, pin in a dartboard, and hit one who has.
Okay. All right. Let's get the congressman's response. Thank you, Mary.
Mary, thanks for your question, and you bring up something I think that is very perceptive on what happened this weekend. Clearly, Jeff Sessions lied under oath. We now know. In fact, interestingly, he offered up his lie. He didn't even answer a question that way. He kind of offered up a lie about what contact he had with Russian officials. And as we have heard from multiple accounts, President Trump was extremely angry with the fact that he recused himself because he had to after that information came out. So what happened after that was a tweet storm, part Arnold Schwarzenegger, mostly Barack Obama, but going after Barack Obama, making this outrageous claim that somehow he's being wiretapped by Barack Obama, or his wires, I believe is what he said, were being tapped. And yet no one in the administration could justify this. To go back to the problem we have is it's the burden of proof. So I was explaining this weekend in Wisconsin. Inside the Beltway here, we use terms like perjury, and we talk about the actual ability to prosecute someone. It takes quite a bit. It has to be beyond a reasonable doubt, et cetera, depending on whether or not it's under oath or not. So it becomes very difficult to do that. In most parts of the country, it's just called lying. But, here we have fancy terms and fancy standards, which is why so many of these people get away with it. However, at least in the case of Jeff Sessions, now we have a recusal that puts us hopefully a step closer to independent investigation with the special prosecutor. But you're right, whether it be Secretary Price or Pruitt, when they lie to Congress, you want accountability. The difficulty we have here is that burden of proof to actually make it something enforceable. So we just have to make sure that, while inside the Beltway there may be certain levels that are hard to come by in going after them to putting, a real serious consequence to what they did, I think we can still win this war back home in making sure people understand that this administration is lying on a regular basis. And I don't know if, quite honestly, they know the difference between truth and lies sometimes when they put some of this information out there.
Tragically. Norma in Montgomery, Alabama. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Thank you, Dr. Thom. Representative Pocan, I heard an announcement the other day in which they were talking about this new health care plan will protect the market. Well, I resent being referred to as a market. I don't have any faith at all in the insurance companies because I have been a patient, a cardiac patient, since '81. And I have watched the payments to doctors through here in Alabama, it's Blue Cross, drop to where there's very, very little ever paid to a doctor from Blue Cross. Our Blue Cross CEO said that $21 million a year was inadequate in 2014. I did the math. That worked out to a little over $10,000 an hour.
This is his paycheck, you mean?
Sir?
This is his paycheck, Norma?
Yes.
Oh, pardon my interrupting you.
If anybody wants to verify that. When the Affordable Care Act came out, our governor refused to expand Medicaid. We have had people dying, like you were talking about in New York and Los Angeles, from live active TB. There is no health care in the central western part of Alabama. There are no hospitals. Mm-hmm. And what I have heard is that any state that did not expand Medicaid will not be able to do so under this new health plan. Well, so far, like I said, I don't consider myself or my fellow citizens a market, and I am not concerned whether or not a CEO gets a paycheck at all. I don't need a health insurance policy. I need to be able to walk into my doctor's office and receive adequate, competent care, and that is what I want for my fellow citizens. I am, like Dr. Thom, I want Medicare for all. But do you know whether or not this new policy will prohibit these southern states, like the old Confederacy, from expanding Medicaid and helping people with no health care? Our governor is in the hospital today receiving a procedure out of my tax dollars for an irregular heart. And meanwhile, we have people dying. Personally, if I'd had a family member die, I would have him arrested for murder. But But can you answer my question? Do you know whether or not this new policy will prevent southern states from expanding Medicaid?
Well, Norma, so yes, part of what this is going to do is going to really affect people when it comes to Medicaid, and specifically you're seeing the states that use this the most right now that have it are states that, quite honestly, are represented by Republicans when we're looking at some of the breakout in numbers. So people are going to be voting against the best interests of their constituents because they just don't believe fundamentally in programs like Medicaid and I would argue Medicare and Social Security as well. So absolutely this will have negative ramifications on states when it comes to Medicaid, and we're already seeing that's by 4 of the, I think, U.S. senators, Republican U.S. senators, the first day came out because they are kind of looking out for their constituents and see this as a problem. One extra thing, Thom, if I can just say, from Norma's numbers about that insurance exec who's making $10,000 an hour, if you think about it, in about a day and a half of work, they quit paying into Social Security.
Wow.
Where the rest of us pay the entire year at Social Security to make that program strong. That's just a great irony of when she mentioned the amount of money they're making and the reality when it comes to health care.
Right. That's extraordinary. Congressman Mark Pocan is with us, taking your calls for the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Pocan in just a moment. His website, pocan.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan, REPMARK POCAN.